Hi, I'm Anthony Westbury from TCPalm. We're talking today with Mayor of Port St. Lucie, Greg Oravec, and St. Lucie County Administrator Howard Tipton about a proposal that'll be on the ballot in November. It's going to be a very crowded ballot, local, state, and federal races, perhaps 13 constitutional amendments, and if you're a St. Lucie County voter, question 14 is the one we're going to be talking about today. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Whenever we write, and either of you can answer this, but whenever we write anything about increased taxes, the reaction is predictably no.
Or heck no.
Yeah. Can you explain, the response is, I pay my taxes, why do you need more money? So can you explain why the county, Port St. Lucie and Fort Pierce and St. Lucie Village will be asking for more money?
So you want to do a condensed version that you just did in the room where the editorial board raked us over the polls?
Yeah, that's right. Let's do that. So the short answer is that the dollars that we typically would use for infrastructure projects, which are better roads and better water quality, more sidewalks, those are dollars that are shrinking for us. Actually, we have the same amount of money that we had in 2018 that we had in 2007. So as we look at a larger community and the needs that larger community brings, the revenues to support it just aren't there in terms of infrastructure funding.
So okay. The why is that we have all these projects that we don't have funding for. We need a dedicated source of funding. In Port St. Lucie, those projects, St. Lucie West Boulevard, no one likes being stuck in that traffic. Everyone wants to do something about it. We've been talking about sidewalks for a long time in Port St. Lucie. This is an opportunity to get every sidewalk on a major road done, repaving, and of course Floresta Drive, the list goes on and on. But you hit the question, why? Well, we have these great projects that won't get done any other way, and then it comes down to this issue of credibility. Can I trust the government with my additional money? Because that visceral response is, heck no, we don't want taxes. But are these projects good? Well, if they're good, then we have to find a way to pay for them, because none of us have $88 million sitting around on a back shelf. We don't. And when you look at the ways that we can pay for it, do you want to put it on the backs of the homeowners and the property taxpayers? Or do we want everyone who helps create the need for these projects to help pay for them? And that's what the sales tax does.
Okay. The proposal is to raise sales tax in St. Lucie County from 6.5% as it is now to 7% for 10 years. That will raise an estimated $18.5 million a year. And that's going to be split up between the county and the two cities. Can you explain how that is divvied up?
That's a boring technical question.
Thank you. It is a state formula, actually, that is the way that it will be divided up. Out of the $18.5 million, the county gets about 49% of that, or about $9.2 million. The city of Port St. Lucie is about $7.5 million. Fort Pierce is just under $2 million, and then St. Lucie Village is about $25,000. And that will grow over time as we anticipate the sales tax to grow as well. So over that 10-year period, it'll be about $200 million plus that we'll be able to bring to these projects. But in addition to that, as we talked with the editorial board, we look to leverage these dollars. So we take $200 million and hopefully turn that into $400 million, because we can leverage it at least at a 1-to-1 ratio on a number of the large projects, especially the water projects. So looking forward to doing that.
Okay.
Anthony, you in the newspaper and any newspaper are at your greatest when you educate. So with the sales tax, I think a lot of people in Florida know, but just in case, we have a 6% base level. A lot of that goes to the state, some of it's shared locally, and then we have this thing called local option. And that's what this is. This is a local option sales tax for infrastructure. There's other ones. This is not an exotic financing or funding source. There's 67 counties in Florida. I think that 61 of 67 counties have a local option sales tax. And I think right now, 24 counties have a local option sales tax for infrastructure. That very thing that we're asking the voters to approve, 24 counties are using it right now to improve their infrastructure.
And there's a cap on it as well. And so if you think about it, if you're going out to make a large purchase like a car, it only applies to the first $5,000 of that purchase. So it would add at the most an additional $25.
So when he gets his rolls, $25. All he's got to pay.
Extra, that's it.
And the boat. Yeah.
Do they make British boats? It's a Rolls-Royce engine, I'm sure.
Rolls-Royce engine, of course, yeah. This is the second time that the municipalities and the county have tried to do this. It failed in 2016, and as we noted in the meeting, Port St. Lucie precincts said no, almost universally. What's different this time? Why are you more confident it's going to pass this time?
So for me, I don't know, and because we're 189,000 people, we're a majority of the county, I don't think this can pass without the citizens of Port St. Lucie buying in. I think unincorporated county, I'm not sure anyone voted yes there either. I think Fort Pierce maybe had a couple precincts and they were the only ones. Timing is everything. 2016, 2 years ago, was completely different as far as where the city was at from a political standpoint, from a credibility standpoint on moving forward. We've totally turned the page since then. We have a council that's working together and getting things done, a strategic plan, a very transparent process, a very citizen-driven process. Crosstown has gone from a question mark to, knock on wood, a certainty, and everything is moving forward. We've walked the tax rate back 3 years, and the property tax rate back 3 years in a row. We've slashed the debt. We're dealing with the kind of ghosts from the past. I like to call them dragons. We're slaying those dragons one by one, and you can just feel the progress and moving forward. So we've developed this project list, Anthony, as you know, by going to the people and saying, hey, we have this long list of needs. What is most important to you? The citizens of PSL actually picked our project list. And then we're dealing with that issue of credibility. I think that's what's changed the most. And I think that you're seeing all the governments come together, not in a token way, but in a real way.
There seems to be more unity this time, correct?
We had a joint meeting, we put our cards on the table, and we said, hey, are we really gonna ask the people? Because again, going back to, I think, what you pointed out at the beginning, you have to overcome that no, that just gut, no taxes. The answer is no, the answer is always no. So to overcome that, we have to be together, we have to be on the same page, we have to do it right.
The mayor mentioned the unified leadership. We did have joint meetings with both the city of Port St. Lucie and the city of Fort Pierce, also St. Lucie Village. And it's remarkable that the resolutions are 5-0 across the board, and that unified leadership that brings us together so that we can make the important asks, so that we can get to these infrastructure projects that will support a growing population. We've got about 160,000 people here coming in by 2050. It's a lot more people that we need to serve, and there's a lot of need because we are overcoming some bad design in the past. And Port St. Lucie is a GDC community, but they're not the only example of poor design that we are trying to correct.
How can voters be assured that the money will be well spent and monitored? I think you've built in a series of 4 layers of control here.
So there are 4 layers of control, and so it starts with the Citizen Oversight Board, and each of the municipalities, the county, will have a Citizen Oversight Board that will make sure that these dollars that are raised are going to the projects that have been identified, and they are specifically identified. You then have ordinances locally that drive what we can do. You have state statute that limit what we can do. And then ultimately you have the elected officials who will make the final decisions on all of the spending for all of these projects. But it is the transparency, and as the mayor talked about, Port St. Lucie's plan is to put this in ordinance, to put these projects actually in there so that they can be, that's what we're doing, and we're gonna hold to that.
Eric, I'm gonna get in real big trouble here. Can we just give me that right there? So Eric Gill from St. Lucie County, he's Johnny on the spot. He's probably got this in here, and this is how you do it on the pavement when you're pressing the flesh and you're campaigning. So the county has their actual list and the city has their list, and Anthony, as I've alluded to, might not be clear if you're coming fresh on it. We went to the people and said, hey, what projects do you want to do? They identified these in this order. These are the projects. There's not going to be a lot for the Citizen Oversight Committee to do in PSL because we're doing the projects that people wanted. We even created a line item called contingency participatory budgeting, which means, the ebb and flow of projects. We wanted to make sure that we had enough to get all these projects done over a 10-year period, so we had to have a little cushion in there. But the money that's left, we'll put towards one final infrastructure project that's eligible, and through something called participatory budgeting, so the people will actually get to participate in choosing their final capstone project. I think it's pretty exciting. And who knows what'll happen over 5 to 10 years for them to be able to say, this is it. And then the other piece, we'll have to call it the 5th layer of protection. In Port St. Lucie, we're actually gonna adopt an ordinance. So your city council, your legislative body can do things by motion, resolution, ordinance. Ordinance is the most formal, it's the most serious British type law that we have, Anthony. And we're gonna do it by ordinance. We're gonna adopt this project list by ordinance. And you can't change an ordinance without a public hearing and without your trusty columnist or newspaper being there.
No queen, but anyway. So the education process begins as of now. You're going to be going out talking to civic organizations, homeowners associations. If people watching this want more information, where should they go? There's a website?
We have 3 websites actually. So we have the slchalfcent.org website. That's the county's website. You have PSL, half cent, and then you have FP for Fort Pierce half cent websites. We'll have open houses. As you mentioned, a number of different forums for public interaction. So looking forward to getting out there, but it's going to be a busy season.
Yeah. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oravec.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Tipton.
Number
thanks
14 on the ballot.
Number 14, yes. Yes on 14, I guess is the slogan.
Oh, let's get them. Let's get them on the team.
Thank you.
Thank you.